Do you remember Dora the Explorer? She always used her map when she wanted to go to new places. Similarly, if you go to a new city or you move to a new city, you will use your Google Maps a lot. But after some time, you get used to the city and you can navigate through the city, find your way home easily, to the supermarket, and to some other places. In this video, I'm going to answer the question, do I have a map of my surroundings in my brain? And if so, how does it work? The short answer to the first part of the question is yes, you do have a map in your brain, and scientists like to call this a cognitive map, an internal representation of space that your brain builds and uses to navigate the world around you. The brain region most responsible for this map is called the hippocampus. Its name derives from the seahorse because it looks like a seahorse, and it's deep inside our brains. It's been known for a long time to be an important part of the brain for memory and navigation. But for a long time, scientists didn't really know how it worked. What were the cells inside actually doing? That changed in year 1971, when two neuroscientists named John O'Keefe and Jonathan Dostrowski did something extraordinary. They recorded the activity of individual neurons in the hippocampus of a freely moving rat while the rat was just walking around a room. They found something fascinating. Certain neurons in the hippocampus only fired, which means became active, when the rat was in a specific location in the room. Move the rat somewhere else and the cell went quiet. Bring the rat back to the same spot and the cell fired again. O'Keefe called these place cells. And the specific area of space where a place cell fires, he called place field. Take a look at the animation of this cute rat. As it moves, different place cells light up in different colors. Each one fires only at its own specific spot. Together, all these cells firing in different places create a kind of neural map of the environment. But here is where it gets interesting. What happens if you put the rat in a completely new room? The same place cells might just shift their spots. Some completely stop firing, some start firing in totally new locations, and some switch on for the first time. Scientists call this remapping. It's worth noting that it can also remap as we change an existing environment. Another shift happened in year 2005 when two neuroscientists named May-Britt Moser and Edvard Moser asked the question, are place cells the full story of how spatial information is encoded? And they thought the answer is no. This is why they looked at the other region near the hippocampus called entorhinal cortex. The neurons in the entorhinal cortex fired in a pattern that looked like a perfect hexagonal grid, like a honeycomb stretching across the entire environment. These became known as the grid cells. What makes them special is that they don't just mark one spot, they fire at many regularly spaced locations, and because of this, they can track distance and direction of movement, a process called path integration. Essentially, grid cells act like a ruler and compass combined. In 2014, the Mossers and John O'Keefe were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for these discoveries. The Nobel Committee described it as a discovery of the brain's GPS system. Imagine getting out of bed and walking across your room without turning on the light. Probably you will be able to find your way, and it is because the place cells and the grid cells can work in the dark and without a visual cue. In a study from 1990 by Quirk and colleagues, rats were recorded in a lit room. Then the lights were turned off completely, then turned back on again. The place cells kept firing in exactly the same locations in the dark as they did in the light, mostly. The map mostly stayed stable, even without any visual information. That means your brain GPS works in the dark as well. Now, it is important to note that place and grid cells are not alone, and there are other cells also integrating with them, such as head direction cells, which fire depending on which way you're facing, like a compass in your brain. There are also border cells, which activate when you're near a wall or the edge of a space. And there are also speed cells, which fire faster the faster you're moving, tracking your velocity in real time, and other cells as well. Now we come to the limitations of the terminology. In 2017, scientists did a study on place cells and sound frequencies. They trained rats to move a joystick that changed the pitch or frequency of a sound. When the rat hit the right pitch, it got a reward. So the Mossers and many scientists thought that the grid cells is an important input for place cells. But they also said that the relationship between them is unknown. In a recent computational model study in 2025, they showed that place cells can form without grid cells at all. This does not mean that grid cells are useless, but it does mean that the relationship between the two systems is far more complicated than we thought. Do you have a map of your surrounding in your brain? Yes, but it's not a photo, it's not a memorized direction. It's a living pattern of cells switching on and off. A map made of activity, constantly built, updated, and sometimes completely redrawn. And exactly how all these pieces connect, scientists are still mapping that.